I think you sound good. As long as you're good on your end with Audacity, then we'll just.
You're using
it won't
Audacity,
matter.
John? You are basic, bitch.
What do you use? Oh, Audition?
I would Audition. I'm using Audition. I have ascended.
We're already
I am
overpowering you.
enlightened.
Audacity is much better. I've been using Audacity for probably 6 years, and it hasn't changed. It
I
looks
used
the
to use
exact same.
Audacity, and then I ascended. Are you alive, Gokanaru?
Man, Ethan's already got him. He's dead.
Ethan
got him.
Ethan just turned up in his house.
Who's the video vigilante now? Interesting.
In case people have forgotten since my riveting story, this is Gokanaru, and he did a video recently. Well, not recently. Well, kind of recently, but it wasn't a video that's of great interest, of course, which was his video vigilante. Very witty name, I must say. I've always admired that.
It is a good name.
It was about H3H3 productions. I wonder if anyone's called I wonder if anyone's ever called H3H3 he productions.
I know Keemstar calls him H3. Maybe
that's just an alternative.
Maybe that was
that's
somebody
just an alternative pronunciation of the letter H.
Maybe
Of
that was
course, it's not
Inaber.
the best
I
pronunciation.
think it was Inaber.
Oh, Inaber did do that. He did.
Yeah, Keem was the one that called him out for it.
H3 production.
It's just more effort to say it like that.
Sorry, I love Inaber, but that was my best impression.
It's pretty spot on.
So we were talking about. So you made the video, and I remember the video very well because I watched it and I was like, "Oh crap! This is a very, very well structured, convincing, well argued video." I mean, I was vibing.
It was probably my favorite commentary-esque video of that year. Like, I was blown away at the amount of research, the way it was presented in such a way that anybody who, like, somebody that doesn't know anything about H3 could watch the video and come away, knowing so much about the situation and having a pretty educated opinion on the guy. The way you framed it was so good.
And like when I saw the video, I remember because I had reached out to you at the time, and
you were the first, by the way. You were like the literal first, I think, YouTuber I've ever like had contact me like that. So whatever we DM'd or whatever exchange we had, that was like you de-virginized me as a fellow YouTuber contact.
Yeah, that's my job. I de-virginize people.
I remember the specific moment. I was in like the library of my university trying to study because I had a shit ton of exams and midterms and whatever. I was stressed as fuck, and I just dropped this video, and it was just starting to gain traction, and my nerves were like shot, man. It was actually very nice that you reached out because like I definitely was in the mood of wanting to talk to somebody about it. So.
Oh, that's
wholesome.
That's great. I mean, I'm honestly, that was kind of one of my peak times on like Twitter in particular, like talking to people. I was just in there. I saw people who like doing that good shit, and you want to encourage that. You want to encourage people to make fucking great content. And
100%.
That was a great video, and so you got to reach out to people and tell them like that was a fucking great video, because as you say, it especially like it was like such a deviation from your typical content,
drastic,
that it deserved support, and I was happy to provide that, really. So we all love you.
Thank you.
And obviously, since my message, you got many more messages and much more support because it gained significant amounts of traction.
At what point did that video start to blow up?
I remember I uploaded it, and I was like, I knew it was like, this was kind of make or break. Like I knew this had the potential to be a big video, but like I had been uploading for like 7 or 8 years like before that, so I knew nothing's guaranteed on YouTube. So I knew it was possible it would flunk. But yeah, I uploaded it and I was like, okay, what the fuck's gonna happen? And it was like basically three full days of just like dead air, and it having like a shit ton of dislikes and getting like 500 views, and I was like, all right, fuck.
Oh really?
I was like, okay, I don't really know what's gonna happen. Yeah, and then Memeology 101, I think he saw it and he shared it or whatever. He like posted on his community tab about it, and I guess he has like a much more drama focused channel. Like I think at that time he was talking about the BetterHelp situation with Philly D, and so he was like hot off the kind of like bashing on H3 drama as well, because I think H3 said something to PewDiePie that was weird about BetterHelp or something like that. And so I guess it kind of fit his what he was doing more than it did for me, so he shared it with his audience, and his audience I think kind of like helped spread it a bunch.
And it just snowballed from there. I didn't know it had a little bit of a negative reception at first.
Oh yeah, I guess like
you get people who are just massive H3 fans who don't watch the whole thing, obviously.
Well, yeah, there's also like
what's gonna happen.
Anybody watching, I guess an exposed or like a fucking like a kind of like a aggressive video like that, or abrasive video like that, when it has like 200 views, 300 views, and it's like an hour and a half long, you immediately just assume it's dog shit. I would feel like, you know, or at least. Yeah, like it's definitely, there's people definitely have like a confirmation bias where it's like, this video has a shit ton of views, therefore it's probably somewhat better than a video that has like barely any.
Yeah, 100%.
And I also think it is a problem when you're hitting a really new audience who are just quite attached to a certain creator. Like I've had it with a couple of my videos which were really out of left field for what I typically cover, and you reach this new audience who aren't necessarily really open to hearing that perspective, or they don't want to be introduced to that perspective, and their whole logic is, oh bro, why are you hating? Even if the points are good, and it's like, yeah, you're just a guy who talks about other people, you know, why don't you create something original, kind of.
I've gotten a lot of comments from people like who are fans of some of the people that I cover that are like, "Oh, you're just jealous of their success or whatever." And it's like,
you're very
definitely
jealous
not jealous
Lester.
of Lele Pons. Yeah, Charlotte Lester for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I'm envious.
Who isn't jealous of Charlotte Lester?
Yeah. I feel like as a commentary channel, you grow. At least for me, like I grew pretty quickly. I grew like super numb to like anybody who was saying I was just clout chasing or whatever, because I'm like, in my head, I already know, like, I've spent so much time on the video and whatever that it doesn't really matter what other people think unless they have a legitimate criticism that's something that I kind of agree with. Like, if I notice a comment bothers me, like actually bothers me, it's probably because there's some truth to it. Maybe not entirely true, but like definitely I take note of comments where it's like, what the fuck? I'm like left a little bit annoyed or like bothered. I'm like, wait, why does this annoy me? Whereas like people who are just you know, blindly hating or like just not really adding anything, it's like, okay, I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah, it's the ones that actually carry weight that make you rethink maybe one particular element.
The only thing that might like piss you off and it's not valid is like people who are kind of like twisting your words a little. That sometimes pisses me off because it's like you know, it appeals to other people's biases, and you know that they know better, but unfortunately that's an occupational hazard, really. That you just gotta handle. Like, no one's gonna like respond to your content fantastically all the time, and so you gotta learn to deal with it with a level of decorum and not end up being one of those YouTubers that you cover, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much the key. But I mean, ever since that video came out,
in a way, in a way, I didn't mean to, but in a way, which is what kind of your video was kind of hinting at, Chris, because it was H3 is kind of morphed into this rather unappealing individual. Maybe not prank invasion, but he was certainly a far cry from what people had previously known him as, and we talk about impactful comments, but at the end of the day, your video was so impactful to the point where he wouldn't like even mention your name.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Is like ever since that video came out, he is. I know he addressed a lot of the criticisms that you made in that video.
Yeah.
In a podcast, but he didn't name the video, and he definitely didn't name you because he was. I think he was afraid of his fans going and watching that video for themselves and actually agreeing with a lot of what you said.
Yeah.
Because you made, very reasonable points. That anybody who even enjoyed H3 could probably at least see where you were coming from.
Yeah.
And he was afraid of turning his audience over to that.
Yeah.
And that's why I guess I'm glad to finally see him addressing it, even if it's 2 years late. Him saying that he's going to respond to it on his podcast and react to it. That's at least better than nothing, and I'm interested to see what the response is going to be.
Yeah, this has been a crazy week for commentary. Like, just absolutely, especially for me. Yeah, it's just been a total roller coaster. But I would say, like, yeah, he responded basically to my video at the time. Like, obviously, again, it was in a very general way, and he censored my name out of his comments, which I don't agree with. I don't think that's smart. I genuinely think that's stupid, honestly, especially as like a commentator. But yeah, he didn't have to like directly address my video. I was still pretty small at that time, and I wasn't really bothered that he didn't, even though it was obviously a conscious decision. I had basically accepted what he said at face value. Like, I didn't really need that validation. But like, when my video got taken down eventually, and he was talking specifically about the video and very consciously avoiding saying my name, I think that was kind of a next level of like, now you're definitely censoring yourself kind of unnecessarily, where it's like you're really going out of your way, because it's like if you're talking about the video, that's what the fuck, you might as well at least provide some context, even if people can't watch it anymore.
Yeah.
But
and I agree there, and I think that was one of my biggest problems with his response to that, because he obviously spoke about the content cop and stuff, and then he kind of got round to it. And obviously one of the biggest proponents of your narrative at that point was Keemstar, and obviously H3 has history with Keemstar. And what happened was, instead of really addressing it, H3 just took the opportunity to clown on Keemstar, which always personally did actually rub me the wrong way as well. In particular, that situation, because I always found his comments rather purposely evasive and more just trying to. It felt like a distraction from what the actual point of discussion was. Okay, sure, Keemstar has done this shit, but if Keemstar's, even if Keemstar's theory, is not correct, you'd rather disprove the theory rather than just make various attacks at Keemstar's character and previous behavior, because because regardless of what Keemstar said, it was a theory that many people were alleging at the time, many people beyond Keemstar. It wasn't just something that Keemstar had concocted out of nothing, because it was this video that that had an impact and suddenly disappeared, and many felt it was reasonable. It was fair in its points, and it wasn't really it wasn't really harassing or anything. I think the point was about simulated violence, I suppose, but otherwise there was very little cause to take it down.
Yeah, and the fact that it was one of three. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's pretty important. No, you go, John. You go.
I was just gonna say, the fact that it was one of 3 videos to actually be taken down for harassment, I feel like that's also. I mean, it definitely doesn't paint Ethan in a good light, and I understand the people that were willing to assume that Ethan was behind it in some capacity.
Yeah.
I think he should have taken a look at the circumstances and thought, okay, why are people believing this?
Yeah.
Even if he had nothing to do with it whatsoever, and just responded with a level of diplomacy, which he is more than capable of, rather than taking it as an opportunity to, attack Keemstar as the wacky conspiracy theorist.
You're switching the narrative at that point. You're just going to get more people attacking you for doing that.
And doing that, he kind of fed into Keem's narrative as well. Like the evasiveness really helped fuel his argument. So I mean, I don't know. Just in general, you'd think being more forthcoming is like it's somewhat helpful in the long term, because now it's even boiled to the point where it's like, holy shit, it's such a big deal now that he's acknowledged me. Whereas if it was like, if he had done it earlier on, which he had no obligation to, but like just if he had done it earlier on, I'm sure it would be much less of a big deal that people are talking about now. And it would have been a better look for sure. Yeah. I mean,
and now I guess he has no choice.
Saved a lot of hassle, and I can't blame him for doing what he's doing now, but it didn't have to be this way. It could have easily been diverted, and I think that a version of your video should definitely be up on YouTube, and I personally think that the original version should be up on YouTube because there is a level. I think I can't remember the scenes exactly.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'd say, okay, go ahead.
I would, if I recall, they were quite metaphorical in what they represented. It wasn't encouraging violence, and I think that's one of the biggest issues with the new policy. It doesn't seem to recognize, even though it claims to, it doesn't seem to recognize the power of dramatic effects and how something can be presented in a greater context of proving a point. And I, for one, know that no one reasonable walked away from that video thinking, oh yes, it was instigating violence towards H3H3, because I don't think that you would have done. I'd have to watch the video again. I'm losing my mind. But,
I haven't seen the video since 2018. In its entirety. So
lots changed since.
I feel like you know it better than either of us do.
Yeah.
So I mean,
you had your message, and
I mean,
the skits were part of the message, and I don't think that they would have done anything to encourage violence.
Yeah, I mean, encouraging violence, I'd like to think not, but it's like, that's the thing, is that it's definitely a subjective situation, because there are people with much less tolerance for, like, I guess threats or whatever. Like, how people perceive a threat is very different, you know what I mean? I could absolutely, without a doubt, I could see how my video could come off as threatening from a certain angle. But yeah, obviously the fucking, I'm not actually threatening his life. It's more like if the nuance, like it's a very abrasive, absolutely very abrasive and darkly themed video. That's not friendly in the slightest. It's very much like an attack, I guess, on his character. But there is, like, I did spend a decent amount of time, thinking to myself about the nuance of it, and there is reasons for the skits that do ensue. Now, whether like for the situation, whether it should be allowed on YouTube or not, obviously when it was uploaded, it was allowed on YouTube. That's why they needed to create new rules to remove it. But at the very least, I think that if something were to suddenly become not okay for YouTube, I would love it if the website would have the decency, instead of immediately making an example out of like videos and creators, if they posted like an update or like the new guidelines like a week or a month before they're implemented. Like even if people give like, they give shit and they're like all scared and whatever, at least we could have that opportunity to go back and refine our content to adjust, or to go through to basically make it so that whatever new rule, if we're like obviously breaking a new rule, that when those new policies are implemented, it's not really offending anymore.
There has to be an ulterior motive. Like they were directly targeting the videos that were taken down. So they had no intention. It was very organized. Yeah, they had no intention to give people a warning prior, which I think is messed up.
Right. Well, that was the warning. It was like kind of like a sacrifice, I guess, or they just like chop the heads off these 3 videos. People make a lot of noise about it, but they know now. Like people know now. Fuck. Okay. these big examples, these got taken down, and I guess that might be their process.
And I just think it's rather insensitive of them as well. They claim to always preach this mental health narrative and so on, and yet a video with so much work into it, created with mind to YouTube's guidelines at the time, even if it may have not been compatible with YouTube's current guidelines, which I would probably argue, but once again I'd have to watch the video again. It's removed, and that all that work, all that nuance is undermined by a simple decision that creators can't be expected to foresee. And I think it's just really reckless of them to impose that on existing videos. If it's a new standard, then fair enough. But I feel that the videos they targeted didn't have some huge evil ramification. Videos that did in their time, such as I think it was Leafy's video regarding Tommy NC 2010, and content that did actually lead to harmful repercussions, were called out by the community at the time, because of how poorly they were conducted. And I don't think your video can be held to the standard that they were claiming that it should be. And I don't think that it was fair of them at all, especially given the amount of effort put into that video and the care and the attention. Otherwise, I feel that your video in particular was a very carefully crafted, nuanced picture, and I don't think it was comparable to the ideas, because it separated a lot of the more obviously dramatic elements from the actual criticism. What happens is when it gets, I guess, risky is when certain elements of the two collide and it loses its form, and people get too emotionally involved with the actual criticism, and then it gets out of hand from there. But I think your video was very detached in how it approached its subject, and I don't think that would have created I don't think it would create more harassment than videos that would be considered passable in today's climate.
I was just going to say that in regard to that, I think that it's like they're almost suspending with those specific policy updates with harassment. They're kind of suspending the intention of the creator from what they foresee the intentions of potential viewers would be, right? So it's like the creator creates one thing, and and within it there might be some like harsh things, or there might be like some mocking elements to the video, and then the harassment is the harassment from the creator. No, it's probably mainly coming from viewers who will then go and pursue I guess the subject of whatever video is breaking the policy, and that's what they're scared of. They're not actually scared of the creators, but rather their audience. So I don't know. It's definitely an interesting discussion. And there's definitely
it's interesting, but it's like, where can you decide where a creator is inciting harassment or like telling their
exactly?
Like, when are they encouraging their fans to go do that, and when can you hold them accountable?
When people are just flagrantly insulting, sometimes, particularly like creators such as Colossus Crazy, who integrated it into their videos for comedic intent, and I don't think that necessarily causes people to be more harassing. I can understand in certain instances where creators have said or done something which may influence their audience to go and do something. I understand that. I definitely understand that. But a lot of the times, especially like with Colossus Crazy videos, I never felt that inclination, because he seemed to separate the comedy from the criticism.
It's just interesting because like with the 3 videos that were initially removed, I would say that mine and iDubbbz were the ones that were like the most easily that you could pick out what exactly like we're saying or doing wrong. Whereas like even like it's not that talked about, but the Psychic Pebbles video is super like unclear what exactly is going wrong, like what he did wrong in that video that doesn't align with the new guidelines. It's very vague.
For sure.
It
was a weird pick.
It was a weird pick because it was it is a very offensive video.
Yeah, but that's all of his videos.
As you say, it.
Exactly. That's just in line with what Zach does.
That's the point. That's the point. It was made with the intent of being provocatively amusing.
Satirical, yeah.
And some people find that shit funny, and I can't blame them for finding that shit funny. You know, people have fucked up sense of humor sometimes. I have a fucked up sense of humor for sure.
Me too.
And so I can't. And I find it all very confusing, the whole policy, because I think that, especially with commentary, when you make an argument, people can make just as harmful, just as dangerous arguments, and they'll work their way around these new guidelines. They can do it without. They don't need the insults. They don't need the stuff to cause legitimate harm to groups that they want to target. Right. They just have to sow the seeds more carefully. It's insane to me that
it also brings up the question of like, well, is it even like ethical for them to remove videos that were uploaded when the guidelines were different, when they were following the guidelines?
What I was saying.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I said that. You may have been.
I may have left for a second.
Yeah,
but no, that doesn't make. That's absurd to me.
Yeah.
Like, if it was fine at the time, there's no reason they should have to be removed when the guidelines change. That proves to me that they weren't, they weren't trying to be ethical about this. They wanted to use those videos as an example, to serve as like a warning for
I think they tried
what could
that.
happen if that's the kind of stuff you put in your videos, even if it's pretty tame, honestly. Like,
I think they tried.
It's just ridiculous.
There was something they did where it's like, I forget what exactly it was called, but basically there was a thing where hateful or like content that no longer aligns with the guidelines, it would be put under some kind of it would be put like in a special category where it's basically the video exists, it remains on the channel where it originally was, but it'll never be in recommended. The comments are removed. Like, it's basically, it's there, but it can't really spread anymore. So it was like their way of what was the word? I don't know, but it was basically like a way that they can preserve it without fully deleting
without
it.
promoting it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I've seen. I think it's the case with. You remember? Well, no, don't remember. But Count Dankula's video with the pug, that was under that.
Sorry, it was
status.
borderline content. So they titled it under borderline content, where it's like they weren't really certain about it, and so they decided to remove all of their borderline content like last year, around this time.
Interesting.
Yeah, actually, that was right around the Carlos Maza situation. The dude.
Right.
Steven Crowder, yeah.
That was another. But because I remember. Back in the day, there was some crazy shit on YouTube, and back then it was just this passive platform facilitating like people uploading whatever they want, and now it's expected to be more directional. I don't necessarily disagree with that for certain reasons, though I don't think people being completely anti-interventionist are wrong either, but I also think that there's got to be a point where there was certain content that was just fucking scary.
Back and forth for sure. And it's a big like tug of war kind of between both sides.
I remember back in the day that I found like it was
there's some dark shit.
I was
There's a
dark
lot.
shit, and it was there was this white supremacist guy, and I found this video on YouTube through I think it was a media article, and I clicked it, and it said this content that you're about to watch has been deemed like, and it was I think it's what you say, it was this like borderline thing again, and I was just amazed that shit was on YouTube at all. So I understand them taking a bit more of an active stance, but I think they completely overstepped it. And it was recent thing with that individual named Susie Liu as well, because John Swan obviously made that video where he measured Susie Liu's forehead, which by nature actually wasn't an infringement of the guidelines, but of course the intent was there, and it would just and YouTube took it down anyway, and it just served to show how absurd their guidelines are, and how you can't really regulate for that sort of stuff, because people are gonna find loopholes, and it was really stupid too, because they said, oh, they're excluding large public figures, if I recall, and they've only done that because they know that all the late night comedians fucking take the piss out of various public figures' appearances, and for me, I it's a more personal opinion here, but I've always had a certain belief that if you are a public figure, and I consider myself a somewhat public figure at this point, then I have to open myself up to having my appearance taken the piss out of, as long as it's not in a hateful way, a way that we're going to talk about harassment again, but yeah, obviously there are limits that I would that I would draw a line, but at the same time I feel that large public figure was such a vague loophole to avoid having to people saying, well, why aren't you taking down these huge figures? I mean, but if you think about it, like H3 still has this video up on Trisha Paytas where he compares to like a WWE wrestler, and at what point is a figure so public that you're allowed to take the piss out of their appearance? That's what confuses me.
It's weird. It's definitely weird.
Measuring a YouTuber with a few 100,000 subscribers forehead is not allowed, but if someone has over 1 million subscribers, then you're more than welcome to just be completely crass and crude about her appearance. And I don't know what they're really on about, to be honest. I feel that they're just trying to accommodate all these contradictory principles, and they don't have a clue what they're doing.
And that's the thing you can tell, is that they're like figuring it out as they go. Like it's not very consistent at all. And there's definitely H3 with that Trisha Paytas video. I don't know if could he have gotten like some kind of consent from YouTube before posting that, because that's pretty bold. Like it was pretty boldly contradictory to the rules that are imposed upon all of us small channels, for sure. Like, even that's the thing, I think I always am like teetering between whether or not YouTube is like maliciously kind of trying to sanitize the platform, right? Like kill the heart of the platform, and I usually am leaning toward they are. And I've made a whole massive video kind of about that with the when Mumkey got taken down. But with it, to bring it back to the 3 videos that got removed, those 3 videos, when it first happened, I was like, I can kind of see what they're doing. Like those were very abrasive videos, like very very obviously harsh videos, right? And so it was easier for them probably to justify getting or taking them down, because they probably think to themselves that the average person would watch that and think, that's really harsh, or that's very that's probably too much, or that crosses the line, right? Because most people are not that jaded, and a lot of people are pretty, I think are pretty easy to offend or to kind of cross the line, especially with like violence or making fun of people. Yeah, satire is definitely not for everybody, unfortunately. But I would say that they started with those very abrasive videos, those very clear, like easy for them to justify videos, and now they're slowly, it's like the pepper or the salami approach, where they're slowly cutting more and more. They're removing more filthy frank videos that are just disgusting, like not hateful at all, but they're just kind of gross, right? Like I guess it was, what was it, vomit cake or no? It was,
I think it was hair cake.
No, it's vomit cake. Yeah, sorry.
One of the cake, yeah.
Yeah, and they're slowly now. Wulfvee made that video on I'm Alex. I don't remember exactly what he called him, but that got removed. So that was like, you just crossed the line moment.
Yeah,
I don't think he called
didn't even
anything
talk
in that
for
video.
most of it.
Yeah, it was,
he just showed that he just showed the clip from his Back to Nothing video a lot.
Oh, yeah,
it was just him crying.
Right, it was just making fun of him for being sad, basically, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he talked for like a minute.
It's like where do you draw the line? And I don't think YouTube are drawing a consistent line at all.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
That's what I wanted to say, is that I don't know if how caught up exactly you are, James, but so. Now, my video, are you aware, or I'm not sure if you're aware, but my video has been removed for a second time. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, from because Keemstar uploaded, didn't he?
Yes, yeah.
And
let's get into the more recent.
He replaced it. He replaced all the violence with the plunger.
Yeah, it was replaced with the plunger, yeah.
I feel that once again, it just shows how ineffective the YouTube guidelines are, and I was watching iDubbbz's video on Keemstar.
Oh yeah.
And at the end, he said, but he tells Keemstar to unironically kill himself.
Yeah.
and that is much more threatening and much more harsh than anything really he said in his Wulfvee video. It bewilders me. It genuinely bewilders me. If I ever end up in a position with prospective power over YouTube, then they're in trouble.
Big business moves. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta add financial incentive for insensitive content, or like I guess at least very satirical content, and I think that they'll find a way to justify it.
There is like I mean that kind of content gets a lot of views and probably makes them a lot of money. I feel like the incentive was already there for them to keep it up.
I'm not sure. Yeah, sometimes it's like you just wish that you worked there, or that you could somehow understand how they're thinking. But there's such like there's such an amalgamation of so many different people that are culminated in such like emotionless fucking words, and updates.
I imagine it's like a giant game of telephone where it's like that one idea just kind of devolves. It comes down to a wildly inconsistent
but
terms of service. And what were we gonna say?
I was just gonna say, with the situation with the new video of mine that was removed from Keemstar's channel, so that was, James, I guess you're not fully in the loop, but that was an interesting play by Keemstar, because like
did he come to you and was like,
he asked me,
I have an idea.
He asked me, and he it wasn't like certain or anything, so I wasn't like that I don't know, I wasn't that like on edge or whatever, but he basically, it was a weird situation because essentially H3 like obviously uploaded his videos about Keemstar, and in the grand scheme it's basically like H3 was winning the battle, I guess you could say, the at least public favor, because Keemstar is very, very abrasively like negative. Like there's definitely a lot of clips of Keemstar like that you can just play them and it's very abrasive and very easy to make him look like a total evil like prick, basically.
He's definitely a villain.
For
villain
sure.
Of YouTube.
Self-proclaimed villain. Yeah.
He's bragged about being the villain. It's kind of part of his. It's one of the reasons he's so successful. He actually, I was watching the H3 podcast, one of the first episodes where he went on, and he was talking about how it's like, I kind of play up this villain persona as part of my.
And it's like
that's
shtick. He's been consistent with that too. That's the thing. I think that might actually be one of the reasons why when people watch my video, because it's like how it works, right, is like Keemstar, I've been watching probably for over 10 years now, since like he was uploading to Machinima, where he was making trash talking videos in Halo, and he was saying like putrid shit, like it was like completely like raunchy and like very offensive and demeaning the fuck out of people, basically, because it was Xbox live like trash talking. And at the time he was getting banned on like all of his Xboxes, so he moved to like live streaming, where he would, you know, rant at people and like do trash talking battles. It was his whole persona was to be a complete dickhead. And I'm sure that bleeds into his real persona, but at that time, yeah, absolutely. But at that time, it was definitely like elevated, and it's a lot of like the very abrasive clips that have come out about him are definitely from that era, because he was just so insane.
Right.
But he has always been that way. Like it's like he started like on such a outwardly negative level, and it's like all of these things, like the people that are in the know, like obviously there's a lot of fans of H3 who aren't in the know at all for the YouTube, you know, content wise. Like they just see this content now about Keemstar. They didn't know any of it beforehand, so it's like very easy to hate him from that. But a lot of people have kind of weathered the Keemstar storms that have come over the years. And whereas with H3, it's the opposite. He was elevated upon this pedestal of being like a good guy, and good, like he has very good intentions. And so when a video like mine comes out, where definitely like the things I show in my video don't make him look as bad as Keemstar. Like I can't say that. Like there's just clips that come, like there's a lot of clips from Keemstar that make him look very despicable, right? But when Ethan projects himself, or was, you know, came up as like such a big figure, a prominent figure for so many people to look up to, he has like a much farther ways to fall, you know what I mean? And so I think that's why
it's more shocking to people.
Right, yeah. I feel like that's more of the reason, because now, like, my video gets uploaded to Drama Alert, right, and which is just fucking, like, such a strange move, but an interesting move for sure. Like, politically, I guess it's, like, a very brave and kind of interesting move, but it gets uploaded, and basically the consensus in the comment section for, like, the 4 hours it was up is that, well, fuck, now I just think they're both scumbags, basically. Like, it's not like, wow, one of you won this battle. It's like, you guys kind of just both look like idiots now. And a lot of people obviously, like, it's not like, oh, Keemstar's better than H3 now. It's like, oh, you guys are both kind of a little bit off. And so
they both suck for much different reasons.
It's interesting because obviously the video is now 2 years old and
ish.
1.5, I'd say, maybe.
Yeah, 1.5 about,
and obviously a lot's happened since then, and therefore you kind of have to see if the quote pattern of behavior stands up, and it does seem that way for many people, because your video
about Ethan right now? Ethan?
Yeah, Ethan, because your video clearly was still interpreted as somewhat relevant and important, and relevant enough for Ethan to make a direct response, even though he had inadvertently responded to it 1.5 years ago.
Right.
I mean, there must be some semblance of relevance. So what do you think has happened in particular that has continued this, bar your video's deletion, which was important?
Yes,
but
definitely.
What else do you think?
Yeah, so my video's deletion is definitely like kind of the crux of this whole situation coming to be, basically, because obviously when my video was deleted, it wasn't right away that like people looked at H3 in a suspicious light, but definitely his response felt, it wasn't that it incriminated him really, it's just that it didn't feel very forthcoming. I expressed that in my video, and I might have leaned too heavily toward the implication, but basically there was some circumstantial evidence that he basically tried to kind of play it as if he'd never seen my video, and it just it didn't come off like, I mean, nobody's that fucking stupid who is in the know, basically.
There was evidence.
Right, yeah.
I remember
your name in the search bar.
Your name, it was in the search, like previous searches. So he had searched your name.
Right,
and so he couldn't like
And he had addressed what you said in the video too, so he definitely saw it.
Right. So that was
to some capacity.
Exactly. So people in the know now. Basically, when that happened, they were like suspicious, and now when the updated version gets released onto Keemstar's channel and it disappears within 4 hours, now it's like holy fuck. And people basically lit a fire under his ass, and we're like, "What the fuck is going on?" This is like, and Keemstar also kind of ran with that as like a narrative too, like immediately, like almost, It's
pretty funny how he's just so willing to criticize Ethan for anything, even if there's no evidence for it. Like, But I mean, again, Ethan's response. Immediately after it was taken down, I mean, like the way that he just went silent, that kind of caused room for suspicion too, and it wasn't exactly the greatest course of action he could have taken.
Right.
But you know.
Yeah, I would say like this whole situation is just really interesting to me. It's really I'm glad that now there's going to be a discussion probably about what should be allowed in terms of at least simulated violence, in my case at least, because in the updated version, like, really like, if you isolate that version, like, if you hadn't seen the original, the implications are much, 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 much less sinister, like, and it can barely even be interpreted as like threatening. Like it's almost a joke. Like it became like a funny, like the scenes went from being like satirical still, but arguably like, you know, a little bit scary, or like the tone feeling a bit like kind of strange. They went from that to like, oh, there's a PNG of a plunger. Like it's like a joke now. At least that's how I see it. I see it as like some funny kind of dark humor. And so now I don't know what the fuck's going to happen, because H3 said now that he's going to basically watch my entire video on, I guess, live stream, I guess.
I think he's on his podcast. Yeah, I don't know how he usually does his podcast.
It's like 50-50, I think. I haven't been too up to date on H3's content just because I've been like focusing on a lot of other things.
I was looking at his podcast just to see, like, when, you know, to get an idea of when this would be coming out. He uploads every Saturday to his channel, but I have no idea if he streams them or if he records them beforehand. And if there's like a limit for how long they go, because I mean that was a long video, and if he's going to be pausing it every couple minutes to like give his take on whatever it is you're saying, like that could it could be a really long video.
I look forward to it.
Yeah. Do you plan on making a response? I'm guessing you know.
If it's warranted. Yeah, if it's like if he says things that I disagree with, and he also said like kind of like I think I probably will have to kind of because I'm sure I shouldn't say I'm sure, but I'm just not sure how it's going to be framed. Like, there's a lot of variables.
It depends.
I'm not convinced it'll be like he's not. I don't think he's going to submit or whatever. And first of all, there is definitely like the reason I believe that the video was re-uploaded was less so that the criticisms were all entirely still relevant, because there are definitely some criticisms in that video that haven't aged well, that have been improved upon, like 100%. It's not. Like, the video doesn't completely hold up to today's standards. But I think that the main reason it was uploaded was because there was this kind of conspiracy, or at least this implication that, or potential that Ethan was the one who was bothered by it, because he is censored himself when discussing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not just that it was taken down, but also that he actively has shown that he is almost afraid to address it directly. And so I think that's what Keemstar's play was.
Removing your name from his comments, like he's directly, he's saying, he's pushing a message that he doesn't want this video to be acknowledged in any way, shape, or form.
Do you think that he will make a statement on whether it should be on YouTube or not?
Right, I think he'll have to, and if I had to guess, I would really love it if he was just honest and said that he genuinely doesn't think it should be on YouTube. If he himself said that he legitimately felt threatened by it, because I guess at the end of the day, it's more or less up to, I don't know how threatening it would be to a person, because I guess it's not, I don't know. It's just not directed at me. I guess I made it, right? And I kind of understand the rough implications, but I don't know. Like I said, everyone has their own level of sensitivity to this stuff. So I'd be at least glad if he said that he's being honest. I don't, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I would also be glad. I would also be very glad if he said that it shouldn't be removed, and if he asked for it to be reinstated or whatever. That'd be a fucking Chad move on his part, honestly. But I'm not certain that I see that being the case. It's just a lot's up in the air, and I don't want to make too many assumptions about what he's going to say because I really have no fucking idea. People think that people think that now because like Keemstar reached out to me that I'm just fucking I know everything that's going on, but it's just it couldn't be further from the truth, man. I'm so fucking in the dark. It's ridiculous.
It'll be interesting. As long as he has a transparent response to it, as long as he's being honest about how he feels about the video and whether or not it should stay on YouTube. I mean,
I guess what
all you can really ask for.
I guess what you're kind of concerned about is the whole centrist thing. Him going, well, I can see why it was removed.
Right, like a non-answer, basically, like not really, just not being honest or not having an opinion of his own, basically,
That would suck.
Yeah,
I really hope he doesn't go that route.
I think honestly, I'm wondering personally if he would see or at least entertain the nuance of the situation of those skits and whatever, or whether he will just play them and basically say that he's disgusted with them and that I'm a fucking psychopath and that I'm a nutcase for making them. I really don't know.
I really can't remember the skits. That's the thing. I'm just trying to imagine what you actually did in them.
Yeah, it would be very easy. It'd be very easy to spin it as if I'm like a literal psychopath, probably.
I think that's the problem, because it was the brand of your channel, kind of. You had all these very wacky, edgy skits, and so for people,
it was entertaining.
People familiar with the brand, people who understood where you were coming from, it wasn't anything exceptional. I still don't think the video as itself, the main impression that sticks with me from that video was the criticism, and the skits were just a little extra for the old fans. And
the thing is like I'd like to think that I'm inherently kind of aiming to be an entertainer, and so the skits were completely for entertainment. Like they didn't really add much at all to the fucking criticism. Of course, it was literally it was like an hour and a half building up of like basically criticizing this guy, and then the final skit is to reach like a state of catharsis where it's like you kind of expunge some of those negative feelings that you have about him, because I feel like if the video just ends right at the end of my criticism, then the video stops and they're still pissed off and they still feel like angry or whatever, and then they're more likely to go toward him. Whereas if the expression of the anger, it kind of culminates in this final ending skit, and it's kind of like a poetic moment almost, whether it's harsh or not, I feel like it being harsh on screen would, in some aspect at least, let people pull away from it and not feel those as actively when they pursue the subject.
Yeah, and I get that, because I've always felt at the time that those were dramatic aspects integrated into your content, kind of like a film or anything that would have such staged content. And the fact that
I definitely wouldn't do them again. Like it's definitely like it was definitely a bit of a ballsy move that I might not because I guess
I don't remember them very well.
It is like a real person, so like I don't really want to, it was definitely, I don't know, it's a definite a fine line that I was walking.
That's fair. It's just, I guess for me, I kind of felt the distinction at the time. It didn't leave me any particular, because it went in from the perspective of it being quite staged.
And it's they were entertaining, and they tied the video together.
That's the biggest
I guess
thing,
like with most commentary videos, like whenever your goal is to critique somebody or something, you should try and make it as entertaining as you can in some unique way, which is what you did. And it was just the skits shouldn't negate any of the criticism that you made in the video.
I hope that when he watches it on a live stream that he doesn't separate, that he separates the skits at least from the criticisms.
Yeah, I hope he does. I think he will. Just knowing what kind of content he used to create. Like, hopefully he can see that for himself. Yeah. But I mean, who knows? Anything is possible.
Yeah.
At this point.
I know. I've always thought it was a great video, and I wouldn't have so passionately endorsed it at the time if I didn't. And maybe I'm stubborn by my own judgment, as well. But I think YouTube made it a mistake by removing it. I think that in preventing harassment, these new guidelines haven't done anything, and I don't think that they ever truly will, if they seek to maintain this line of just thinking it's this very simple, oh well, someone may have said something mean, because for me it undermines intent. And all the videos they removed, even if you say they are abrasive, I feel that they all had intent behind what the techniques they were employing. Sure, iDubbbz argues for bullying in his video, but it's done with mind that Leafy's bullying is conducted in a way that means he can't practice what he preaches practically.
Yeah,
and it's done to expose his cowardice.
Do you think that I agree completely? Yeah, but do you think that going forward, that people, not only that they'll feel like they have to censor themselves, but also that this will hurt like the creativity of content? Or do you think that since there's like more harsh rules, that people will have to just be more creative in their workarounds?
People will find ways to work around it, and people always will find ways to work around it. Of course, some dramatic purpose will be harmed, but at the same time, I feel that people can often achieve the exact same thing. So I'm not someone who's too pessimistic about the future. And I try not to be, because it's my my fucking career path currently. So I think people are smart. I think they'll work around it. They always do. But it's just a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. Principle. If somebody's really passionate about wanting to make content, then they can find a workaround for it. I think it's probably going to hurt motivation more than it's going to hurt people's creativity. Some people are just going to see, some people already they see these new rules being rolled out, and it discourages them from wanting to even try with YouTube, because they see it as a restrictive. I mean, it's more restricting than it used to be, for sure. And although there are ways to work around it, it's just not as easy anymore to get away with doing certain things. And so that could just discourage people, which is probably a bigger concern to me than diminishing creativity. Still an issue. I feel sad in a way that it's kind of come to this, and it seems stupid, I guess, because it's just YouTube videos. But I understand the amount of effort that went into those videos at the same time, and the fact that people created it with mind to the environment at the time. It was perfectly in line with what people would have expected, and I don't think it had a detrimental effect or an effect any more detrimental than many other videos that are still up to this day.
So how about, what do you guys think would be the best response for the YouTube community from H3? Like, if you could, because this is a situation now where like my video, the first one was removed, and people pretty much, took it on the chin. I did as well. It was like, okay, this sucks. But now this edited version that's like almost entirely sanitized, and it's the threatening nature of it is much significantly less, and yet it's still been removed. Now this has kind of become a precedent-setting moment in a way, because if that video remains down, it basically means that the bar is actually much lower, or whatever you would call it, much higher, I don't know, for what's offending. So what do you think would be, if we're looking at like a community perspective, or like long-term commentary perspective, what do you think would be the best response to come from H3, who's pretty well viewed as like aligned with YouTube?
Do you want to go or I go?
John,
you can
I guess. Yeah.
Sorry, what?
I don't care. I don't know. I mean, like, well, what was YouTube's justification for taking it down this time? Because, like, I saw
harassment and bullying. Yeah.
Okay, so that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it wasn't just that. They specifically said again, simulation of violence.
Simulation of violence.
It was a little bit of a weird situation because in their tweet they specified that it shows, like, the new updated version shows a creator being hunted and killed, which within the context of the video, it's not made clear that he's killed. Like, there's no any mention of death or being killed is replaced with plunger or unclogging, like as a joke or whatever, and it's very like, it's completely within the context of the video, not specified that anyone's dying or being killed. The only like act of violence is basically bopping somebody on the head with a plunger, like not bopping them, but like plunging like their head or whatever, like once.
But yeah,
so it's like go ahead.
Sorry, this is my thing. Like, violence, like cartoonish violence, dramatized violence, some of which is completely monetizable by YouTube's own policy, and yet for some reason we're allowed to be violent towards certain individuals, maybe fictional characters, but when we use dramatized violence against a creator, even if it's symbolic, even if it's metaphorical, even if we're doing it, using it for dramatic purpose, suddenly, oh no, that's out of bounds, because you could be actually inciting violence against them. Well, what's the violence against all these other people that you consider it completely allowed? When I think it's counterintuitive logic from YouTube. I did have an answer to your other point though.
Okay, yeah.
What do you think? What I would love is for H3 to just say, okay, I fucking hated that video. You know what?
Yeah.
I hated that video. I think, Gokanaru can go fuck himself.
Yeah.
But I will fucking fight to have that video up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Even if I fucking hate it. Because
I agree. That would be the ideal response.
I want to preserve YouTube as a platform where people can fucking say and do shit, and this content is fair. I interpret the intent the same way as the legendary, handsome, fantastic YouTuber The Right Opinion does.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, that is what he would say.
Exactly what he'd say. I know I'm speaking. It's pretty much.
You're seeing into the future.
Yeah, exactly. Keem.
Right.
Sorry.
I just want him to be honest about how he feels about the video, and then if he were to advocate for keeping it on the site, which I think is completely reasonable, because there's nothing. I mean, we've been talking this whole time about how absurd it is that it was taken down. So
at least
surely if Ethan can see that. Yeah, the edited, at least the edited version. Yeah. I'm not even talking about the original version. The edited version, there's no reason it should have been taken down, I think. And I think anybody, I mean, like, Ethan, I feel like is a pretty reasonable guy. If he were to watch that video in its entirety and say, like, okay, even though I disagree with some of the points that were made here, even if I hate Gokanaru, I still think this video needs to stay on the platform. Like, that would be a very acceptable response to me, at least. But I just don't know if it's going to go that way.
But yeah, I think that would be ideal. I would really like to see that. As you say, it's not guaranteed, and that's a shame, of course. But I'd like to see him say, okay, we need to take another look at these guidelines, because they're clearly not consistent, because they're not consistent at all. If we are talking about dramatized, simulated, cinematic content, so on, then we need to make sure we need to be clear on what is acceptable and what is not, and we can't just create exceptions because some of the skits may involve YouTubers who are popular and on our platform, because that does not necessarily mean that those skits are what caused the alleged harassment, which is partly inevitable. I, once again, speaking for myself, but I personally haven't seen much alteration in the YouTube environment since those guidelines. And I think that there's still always the risk. I was doxxed.
Shit.
And yeah, because as I said, one toxic person gets a hold of your details. They don't need a fucking YouTube video to motivate them to do that. They just need to be fucking out their fucking minds.
Need to be insane. Yeah.
Exactly. And this is what YouTube don't understand. They're not making the site safer.
They don't take it into account.
They're not. Yeah. They're not.
They just want somebody clear. They just want somebody to blame, and I guess the creator in a lot of those situations is the easiest one for them to point. And
I think there are as I said, I think there are situations when the creator, could handle things better and should be held to account to a degree, such as the Leafy situation with Tommy NC 2010, which was incredibly irresponsible on his behalf, and I completely agree there. But when you have videos that are criticizing, which have a very clear line between what is real and what is not, then I think you have to accept that there will be some individuals who will go out of their way to act beyond what a creator would clearly condone, and you can't blame the creator for merely talking about a subject who may sorry.
If there's one thing that's like 100% certain, it's that my video being removed resulted in just a ton more harassment for H3, without a doubt.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah. I mean, it totally screwed him in the sense of people maybe looked at him negatively because of the video, but then they looked at him even more negatively because it was removed, whether or not he had anything to do with it.
Right.
Exactly. These things don't benefit the creator because it just looks like they're attempting to shield themselves, or YouTube's attempting to shield them. And one thing that people fucking hate is they want people they want people to be fucking held. They want things to be consistent on a consistent line. They want an equilibrium. They want things to be held. So if something starts falling away from them, so H3, your video on H3 is removed, they want to equalize that. They want to counteract that. So what they'll do is they'll go over to H3 and they'll go, well, H3 did this, did that, whether he did it or not. And that's a reaction, and that's what people do. They will react in that way. And it was such a weird, bizarre removal, because all those videos were bizarre removals because they were out of mind at the time. There was no proof, no evidence that they had contributed to a significant amount of harassment against any of the creators in question, because everyone knows that there were greater situations that played into each individual creator's issues at that time. Of course, you will always deal with toxic individuals who will go out of their way to fucking make your life a misery. And I don't think, a lot of the time, with exception, case by case basis, that you can point at a creator who made a video and say, oh, well, it's your fault because you spoke about them in a negative way. I think that's a really reckless narrative.
Yeah.
And I've
it's
always thought that's
because
really
H3 kind of implied that a little bit with Etika recently, eh?
I mean, once again, I didn't watch the videos, so, but yeah.
Yeah. It's okay, true. I guess you don't have the context for that, but yeah, if you do, John.
I mean, he basically, he kind of, he didn't really blame him for his death, but he just kind of said that Keemstar was contributing to this toxic, the toxic atmosphere surrounding him at the time. And
but a lot of people had a problem with that. I can understand that because some of Keemstar's reporting of it was was insensitive to his situation, without a doubt. But it's the line you draw based on how someone approaches something, and of course, like someone, even Keemstar wasn't the sole contributor. He obviously, was irresponsible in that situation.
There were definitely harsher people who were like very openly saying that
it was a result. It was a result of greater internet culture,
and of his own circumstances.
I think
there's
after
probably too many variables.
There were a lot of people who had to take a look at themselves in the mirror and ask what they could have done differently. And although there were definitely people who as large responsible creators should have handled it better, it was an energy that was existent at that time, and I don't want to really defend Keem because I on that one, because I do feel quite strongly about it. But at the same time, of course, it's fair to acknowledge that he was not the sole contributor, and in a way he is always kind of fed off the internet energy, and unfortunately that sort of figure in that instance was just not what the situation needed at all. But once again, I haven't watched the video, so I really probably shouldn't say too much. But yeah, I agree said that in my I said that in my Etika video, that really, I mean, it was just unbelievable.
It's not limited to just Keemstar.
It was so many people, and Keemstar definitely criticized him for that because I do feel like it was poorly handled. But don't underplay how fucking prevalent the fucking situation, that mentality was across the internet. Keemstar, like many people, reacted with certain elements of doubt and skepticism and probably a negativity that wasn't needed. But at the same time, the only difference was that he commanded a large audience, which probably was slightly more susceptible to his narratives, and of course he should have been more conscious of that. But Keemstar he's very reactionary. He goes off things in the moment and runs with it, and so it's always a very mutual reciprocal energy with Keemstar. He'll feed off the internet and throw it back, and so unfortunately it's just I mean that situation still pisses me off to this day, but I don't have the energy to be angry anymore. You go, sorry.
I was just curious, were any of you guys watching Etika, like not even like leading up to what happened, but like even before that?
No, I mean, the strange thing is that Etika followed me on Twitter, and cool. It just,
I didn't know.
And it kind of put me in this, because during the run up to things, because I did not speak to him, I did not know him, but I did obviously know of him, and I did see a few clips of him, and so I followed him back at the time, and then the run up to this shit, I was kind of like frozen. I was like, what do I do? Obviously, I don't really want to go things publicly, but at the same time, should I say something to him? But he was also lashing out in the DMs, and I was like, well, it's probably not my place. There are probably people closer to him who probably need to reach him, but unfortunately,
I would agree
no
with
one
you,
reached him.
It's I would just say that I watched Etika's content before I did the H3 video. I was a pretty big fan of his, and I wasn't super active on his streams toward what happened, because I was very busy with school and a lot of other things, but it was definitely a situation where longtime fans could tell something was wrong, but a lot of the hate that was coming at him was from new viewers who just assumed that he'd always been like as erratic and as kind of abrasive as he was becoming. But it was definitely a fucking unfortunate. It was for a long time viewer. It was fucking sucked. It was so sad to fucking see.
Mm-hmm. I had never watched him up until he started making a lot of waves in the community, which I guess happened. I remember he started kind of, you know,
he had always been a shit disturber. He had always been like a bit of like a bit controversial, but like you could fucking tell that.
There is definitely a clear difference.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like
I feel like he was first starting to lash out towards the end of 2018. I might be wrong.
Well, when
I think it was October.
For me, I was confused up until he like nuked his own channel. Like he destroyed his own channel by uploading porn, and then he tried to kind of like spin it as if it was like part of his plan. And I was just like, dude, what the fuck did you just do? Like,
right. When did that happen?
That was 2018. Yeah.
That was 2018. That's when I started to hear of him more.
And it was weird, but it's like not like I don't understand, like it because for me, a lot of times for me, life reaches a point where I'm just like, what the fuck do I do to make my life any remotely stimulating? I'm a dead man walking most days.
Okay, I see.
And
like you could see yourself doing something like Joker mode like that, just for like.
That's the thing. I completely see it. I completely see it. And there are just times where I'm just like, oh yeah, I just want to do something insane, because you work so hard to maintain something, and you put your heart and you craft it, and then you realize that everything that you're working for, it doesn't make you feel incredibly different than what you felt in the first place, and all you're doing is like, well, what the fuck do I do now? And you hit the stage where I'm just really fucking I mean, especially recently, it's been so fucking hard, because I can't see my friends. Like I'm confined to the house most of the day, working on things, and then I might go out for a walk if I'm lucky, because all my sporting activities are closed. So all that shit, and it fucks with your head, because nothing you do feels like it's serving a purpose anymore. Everything kind of feels like it's leading up to the nothingness that you've continued to
you grow numb
anticipate the end of. And you reach a point where you're like, well, how do I feel something? How do I experience something? And it does, you get I get tempted all the time, just lash out, but it's like it's like something you bottle up, and I think that you can it makes you really susceptible, especially online. It makes you so numb, because you have to be numb to an extent to even do this, because of how
the attention.
much the attention and how much you are exposed to on a daily basis. You can't switch yourself off half the time. I can't switch myself off any of the time. It's fucking insane. I think that there are a lot of people who feel like they're constantly on the edge of just losing it, and I definitely feel like I'm one of those people.
I've noticed,
and for worse.
I've definitely noticed, like, whenever there's like a lot of attention on me on the internet, like there's definitely a certain level of depersonalization that occurs, where it's like just an emotional numbness, and like not really being able to feel exactly either happy or even that sad. It's just kind of weirdly numb. I don't know. It is a weird thing. But you expect that you'll just like your life will just get so much better once you get attention. But it's not that it gets worse or anything, but like it doesn't change that much, and it definitely desensitizes a bit.
It's a weird sensation that you really can't. It's hard to describe a feeling, right? So unless you've actually experienced it, it's hard to put into words, I guess. But it's definitely. It can definitely get to you on numerous levels.
Do you guys?
Yeah, you go.
Okay. I was just gonna ask. Do you guys have any questions for me for the for the.
I did have a question, but I can't remember it. My first, because I had two questions set up. I had one that was going to be, okay, well, what do you think he's gonna say about its status on the video status on YouTube? And then I had another, but I can't for the life of remember. It was a question in a similar vein.
I'm sure you'll remember it immediately after we stop recording.
I mean, I don't think it was that vital.
I can just kind of talk about like, what I don't know, like what I'm thinking, I guess.
Like,
I want to get your take on the recent drama that's because I mean, this wasn't even an issue 2 weeks ago. Like this H3 Keem stuff blew up immediately, and I think that would be a good place to end. I would like to get your take on just the recent conversations that have been happening.
Yeah. Okay, so I haven't fully formed my opinions on the recent drama because I haven't really spent too much time thinking about it. I've been focusing on the Hong Kong videos that I'm working on right now, but I have kept it in the peripheral, and now that I've kind of been thrown in the middle of it a little bit, I'm very much like quickly trying to like think things through and understand where I'm at. But basically, I've realized like this is kind of out of my control almost entirely. Everything that's going to happen is literally out of my control. There's not much I can do right now. My only hope for H3 watching the podcast is that proper context is laid out, because there are some minor errors and context errors in the video that are addressed in the Keemstar one and in the description of my original video that might not be addressed, that I addressed them. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna watch the video and just think that I never addressed them. So there's like a few nervous kind of things about it that I'm like, shit, that I don't know how he's gonna spin that or whatever. Like I'm not sure whether I should be worried or not, but I'm not. Like basically whatever happens, and if I have to, I will make a response. I just hope that he tries his best to be fair, I guess. I hope he doesn't try to like spin it as a narrative like I'm fucking Keemstar's little gnoblin.
Yeah, because you're not. You're your own guy, and you've been doing this shit for a while, and you didn't make it with Keemstar in mind, of course.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things.
It's
just,
he
that's
hates
the problem. He hates H3, and that's the problem when a large,
they hate each other. They 100% hate each other. Yeah.
When a large creator comes along and kind of co-opts the narrative being pushed by maybe a smaller creator, it's almost interpreted as, oh, this is Keemstar's narrative, but it wasn't. It wasn't just Keemstar, because you had your own opinion, you had your own formed video without the influence of any larger YouTube at all. As you said, you were a virgin.
Yeah.
And that's important. You have to take note of that, and you have to be sensitive to that.
Oh yeah, I'm curious if he'll even acknowledge that.
Yeah.
That'd be funny if he just if he acknowledged that I had like 13k subs. That'd be funny.
I hope that, as I say, you're treated as your own person, because you are your own person, and I feel that it could easily become distorted, because obviously when your video was removed and Keemstar tweeted about it, for H3 it very quickly became about how Keemstar's this nut or whatever, when really the bigger question was about your video and all this work that went into it, the insane amount of research and so on, that cannot be discounted by whoever's talking about it. Because even if someone terrible comes along and talks about it, okay, a stopped clock is still right twice a day, and they can say that, but it doesn't change the original point. And going after the worst people, kind of trying to, use your narrative, doesn't necessarily invalidate the narrative, even if the people advocating it aren't the best.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is I hope he doesn't try to like, run a narrative or whatever. I hope he just gives his fucking opinion. I'd like what everyone basically wants. Like, just say what you're thinking. Like, it's being confronted now, so at least, if he gives his honest opinion, even if I don't agree with it, at least I can respect it. You know what I mean?
For sure. And I think that's all we can really hope for from his response. But I think we'll probably leave it at that, since we have been going for a long time. Is there anything you want to plug, Chris?
Yeah. I'm like, it's honestly surreal that this situation is unfolding right as I'm like getting ready to begin my Hong Kong series. Like, it is a good thing in terms of getting my Hong Kong series some attention. But yeah, that's the base. That's the main thing that I'm focused on right now. Basically, I'm making videos about the Hong Kong protests, and they will be very exciting. I'm working on them.
The first episode was really good.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad. Yeah. Thank you. Shit. I liked it. Yeah. It's the first episode has a little bit of foreshadowing, but some of the stuff that's to come is like unbelievable. I think I'm that's why I'm not that bothered about this drama, because I know like it's kind of nice that I have this thing to work on that feels much more important. So,
like you said, I hope this situation kind of puts the spotlight more on that series, because I'm really excited to see where it goes. And,
yeah, me too.
Yeah, and hopefully this can be used as just like a launching pad to get that series more attention, and I think it will be. Especially when Ethan covers it on his podcast, or we'll see.
Maybe he'll say, "Go and check out Gokanaru. This guy makes pretty good videos."
That'd be hilarious if he
that would be great.
Fully took the high road.
He should get you on the podcast. Actually,
I don't know. I can't predict at all what he would do. I have no fucking idea. But it would be cool.
But anyway, so where can they reach you on Twitter?
Oh yeah, sorry. So at Gokanaru, and that's the main place where I put updates, and then Gokanaru on YouTube, just same as the title, I guess. So it's pretty easy.
All right, that sounds good. And then my Twitter is just jaubreyt, and then James, what's your Twitter again?
At the right opinion, if it's up, of course, it's there.
Right. If it's I'm feeling it's not all the time that it's
might deactivate again.
You have to catch it at the right moment if you really want to follow.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the fun of it. I just appear now and then. You got to get the follow. Then, if you're fortunate.
Yeah, if you're fortunate.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, hell yeah.
Okay.
Let's give a hell yeah real quick. Oh wait. You're still recording, right?
Who? Yeah. Me? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We need to do a clap sync. I completely.
Oh yeah. True.
All right. So I'm gonna count down, and then we'll go. I'm gonna go 3, 2, 1. Go. Or actually, I'll just do 3, 2, 1, and then we'll clap. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go. 3, 2, 1. Okay. That was probably do. Hang on. 3, 2, 1. Man. Okay. James, do you want to count down?
Okay.
This is the highlight of every episode.
10.
Oh
9.
I absolutely hate you.
8.
I hate you.
7. 6.
You're my
5,
least favorite person.
4.
I hope you know that.
3. 2. 1. Sorry guys, I was a bit late.
Oh fuck. Okay, one more time from the top.
I think you meant to
100, 99, 98.
Yeah, we'll be there in no time. All right.
Okay, I got this.
I'm gonna do it.
I got this.
No, you don't. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, one more time then, just for safe measure.
Okay.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Yeah,
okay, guys.
You guys were better
one more time, but with our dicks clapping against our legs.
Okay, I got that. Yeah. Let me just.
Yeah. Oh, that was you. That was. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Perfect. Okay, I think we're good.
All right. Wait, we should do one more. I think, just to be sure.
Oh, dead ass. Okay.
Yeah, actually. All right. Sorry. 3, 2, 1. Was it delayed for you? Or is it just coming off on mine?
I caught my hand on that one. It hurt a little.
Oh my god. Okay. Here. We're gonna get this right.
Hell yeah.
Get this right.
I'm determined.
Right. We're
leaving all of this in, by the way.
The right opinion.
The right opinion.
The uncircumcised podcast.
The original name. All right. Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
I bet Jay Aubrey was circumcised though. That's the sad thing.
Damn.
Why is that a sad thing?
It's the saddest thing.
That's not a sad thing.
Dock.
Actually, I'd prefer to be. Which I.
Oh wow, you are such a virgin.
All right. Do you want to try one more, or do you want to just? I mean, I could maybe work with that.
I can do one more. This one will be very serious and official. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
So, okay. Let me just warm up. Me.
This is just awful.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
I think that one was pretty bad, actually.
Well, you guys sounded on time to me, but that was just my side. Yeah.
All right. Maybe it was just delayed for me. I don't know.
Okay. You guys both sounded at the same time to me. I don't know how me and Gokanaru sounded to you.
For me, it was a little bit delayed, but I think it's probably fine. I think it's.
Well, you guys are gonna. You obviously we're gonna sound. We're gonna be clapping at a different time to you, but what matters is how we sound to each other and.
Yeah. How it hits our ears.
How it goes in.
How it
deep.
goes in.
Goes deep.
Yeah.
Wide.
Okay.
All right, we're ending it there.
Spread it.